people who have experience in adult movies, what is the most ridiculous or embarrassing incident that happened during filming? In the mid-1980s, I began working in the porn industry as a cameraman in Los Angeles. I had moved there to study film and needed a source of income. I learned that many of my fellow students knew people who made money in the porn business, which was thriving due to the affordability of video production compared to film. Studios were popping up everywhere. One day, a friend who worked in sound asked if I wanted to make some quick cash. A director needed a cameraman immediately for a shoot, so I agreed. The film was a four-way scene involving anal sex, and two girls were in the bathroom preparing when the director became impatient and decided to start shooting without them. As we filmed a blowjob scene, one of the female performers began to convulse and foam at the mouth. She was having an epileptic seizure and accidentally bit off the male performer's penis. Everyone on set, including myself, vomited in response to the gruesome scene. Suddenly, the performer's angry boyfriend burst in and attacked everyone in sight. We managed to wrap the injured man in bedsheets and rushed him to the hospital in a car. The director insisted on finishing the shoot, but I refused and left the set. Later, I discovered that the two female performers had overdosed on drugs while performing anal cleansing in the bathroom. I realized that the director was in serious trouble with the mob, who were expecting a finished product by the end of the day. I quickly left the set and went to the police station to report the incident. The lieutenant I spoke to was unimpressed until I told him the title of the film we had been working on, The Aristocrats. Story 2. During my college years and for a few years after graduating, I was involved in shooting fetish and BDSM pornography, roughly from 2010 to 2016. With a photography degree and expertise in knots from my time in the Boy Scouts, a friend introduced me to the industry by helping tie up and photograph men and women for her fetish website. This led to more opportunities and work in the field. The most challenging aspect was shooting feeder porn. These women would consume excessive amounts of food on camera, followed by vomiting and gagging, which was difficult to witness in film. It also saddened me to see how quickly these women would gain significant amounts of weight between shoots, as it seemed unhealthy. As others have mentioned, the smells on set were often overwhelming, particularly during group sex scenes and feeder scenes, sometimes causing me to feel nauseous. To make decent money, you had to be willing to shoot both gay and straight scenes, which was initially strange for me as a straight male. However, I quickly became accustomed to it. The most surprising part was how quickly I became desensitized to it all behind the camera. When meeting the models, they would be attractive, but as soon as I started shooting, it became purely a job, focusing on capturing good shots and getting the lighting right. The initial awkwardness of nudity and sex in front of me disappeared rapidly. It affected me to the point where nudity and sex in my personal life no longer had the same impact. One of the most awkward situations was when models would bring their boyfriends to the set, who would stand off to the side, often muscular military or MMA types, being encouraging while watching their partners engage in sexual acts. I always found that peculiar. I understand they were there to provide support, but some of the things they would say left me puzzled. I only experienced being ejaculated on once, and it barely grazed my leg. I did get hit by squirt droplets a few times. However, I never actively participated in the scenes other than tying people up. Surprisingly, the sets were much more professional than I had imagined when I was younger. Most of the porn actresses were not constantly promiscuous. It was simply a performance for the camera. Working with a smaller budget company, I never encountered fluffers, and I often question if they truly exist. It was common to see the male performers casually masturbating between shots to maintain their arousal, which was a bit strange. I would be discussing the next shot with them, and they would be masturbating throughout the conversation. The pay was quite good, usually around $60 per hour on set, paid in 4-hour blocks. Even if you worked for 6 hours, you would be paid for 8, which was a nice perk. Despite mostly moving on from that world, I occasionally shoot for some girls I've stayed in contact with for their OnlyFans pages. Story 3. I had a close friend who attended film school and moved to Los Angeles in pursuit of a career in the industry. Despite struggling to find consistent work, he managed to secure a gig as a camera person on a porn shoot through connections he made at a party. He discreetly worked in this field for a few years, as it was apparently a known secret that many aspiring camera persons and even directors would occasionally shoot porn to make ends meet. There was a rumor that James Cameron began his career in this way, although I couldn't find any concrete evidence to support it. During a lengthy conversation we had about his experiences, a few key points stood out. From a creative standpoint, the job could be quite monotonous. Most production companies had strict guidelines for the shots they wanted, leaving little room for artistic freedom. It's worth noting that this discussion took place around 15 years ago, so things may have changed since then. The most challenging aspect by far was the smell. Anyone who has worked on indoor film sets knows that the heat generated by the lights and equipment can be overwhelming. Now imagine two people engaging in sexual activities for hours in a room that steadily grows hotter, especially when anal scenes are involved. Drugs were prevalent. Many male performers used some form of Viagra, along with other substances to desensitize their penises. Cocaine was rampant among female performers. While more professional production companies maintained stricter control over drug use, the amateur ones were often a free-for-all. A surprising number of Cream-Pie shots were faked. Apparently, it can be difficult for male performers to ejaculate solely from vaginal stimulation due to factors like prolonged use of Viagra and other drugs. To create the illusion of a Cream-Pie, a special liquid resembling semen would be injected into the vagina. Then, the male performer would insert his penis, and after a few thrusts, it would appear as though he had ejaculated. This could usually be detected by a noticeable transition cut just before the Cream-Pie shot. However, in cases where a legitimate Cream-Pie occurred, the male performer would pull out and ejaculate a small amount to prove its authenticity. Surprisingly, everyone involved in the industry was quite normal. They were simply individuals doing their jobs, for the most part. While there were certainly some unpleasant individuals and creeps within the industry, those in the mid to high tiers treated it as any other professional occupation. Story 4. I have a friend who worked in production for a small adult film company during college. His role mainly involved handling microphones, but he witnessed some incredibly absurd situations. There were instances where men used intense erectile dysfunction drugs, injections, to maintain their erections. There was an occurrence known as poop dick, which can be inferred from the term itself. Drug use was rampant, with cocaine being particularly prevalent. Above all, he found the industry to be quite disheartening. While some individuals entered it willingly due to their unconventional interests and a desire to earn money through sexual activities, others ended up in the industry because they felt they had no other options or were influenced by the wrong crowd. He often shared a story about a girl he worked with who despised her job in the industry, but lacked marketable skills or education to pursue other opportunities. She was earning a decent income and had debts to pay off, so she felt trapped. Her involvement began in college through a dubious modeling service, which essentially involved a shady individual with a good camera paying cash to college girls for taking revealing pictures and selling them online. It didn't take long for this arrangement to escalate into offers like, "I can pay you twice as much if you let me take nude photos." Eventually, it turned into, "How about 5 times more if I film you performing oral sex on me?" Story 5. There are several unusual fetishes that exist, and one of them is a fetish involving broken legs. Years ago, there was an individual who would send custom video requests to various amateur performers I knew, asking for the following storyline. Scene 1. Pretend to fall off a ladder. Cry as if experiencing intense pain. Scene 2. Prepare by obtaining plaster and creating a leg cast. Use crutches to move around, portraying pain and weakness. Express feelings of being sexually aroused. Scene 3. Engage in masturbation with the leg cast propped up. It's strange, isn't it? Perhaps relatively harmless, I suppose. However, it did come with a generous payment. Personally, I never filmed such a video, but I am aware of a few girls who did. Story 6. I work as a makeup artist in the porn industry, so I'm constantly on set and witness everything that happens. Overall, nothing has been particularly awkward for me. I have a laid-back attitude, and it all feels quite natural, like people simply doing their jobs. If I had to pinpoint an awkward moment, it would be when I can sense that the two actors lack chemistry or aren't attracted to each other. I feel like it shows on film, and that's the only time I would describe as awkward. Actually, there was one really awkward incident during a gangbang shoot. I went into a different room to clean my brushes, and one of the guys took a break from the action to come and talk to me. He stood there naked and masturbating while asking about my job. I've seen pretty much everything, but it was quite uncomfortable to have a guy leave a room where he was having sex with a porn star just to chat with me about random things multiple times. To make it more awkward, he was twice my age. I eventually suggested that he was probably needed back on set, and he agreed. Some people have mentioned the use of fake cum, and yes, it is used sometimes. Usually they capture the real cum shot and then use the fake one to enhance the angle if needed. For example, if the aim was for the cum to land on the breasts, but it missed, we would use the fake cum to make it look hotter. I've been an extra set of hands on set before, and have been the one to simulate ejaculation on an actress. In general, my job is awesome. I've met some really cool people and made some great friends. Just to clarify, I don't get turned on during filming except maybe in one scene where there was one girl and two attractive guys who were both bisexual and clearly enjoying themselves. I admit I felt a bit jealous. It's quite exciting when I can tell that the actors are genuinely into it and having a good time. There was also this one time when I knelt down to pick something up and got covered in squirt. That was pretty funny. I've had to apply makeup to bruised buttocks from BDSM shoots and even enhance the color of nipples to make them appear pinker. If you're interested, I can share more funny incidents that happen on set. But honestly, most things aren't awkward. We're all just human bodies, and things happen. I suppose most people who find bodies awkward wouldn't be working in the porn industry. Story 7. I don't have any involvement in the porn industry, but I came across something that made me cringe, so I thought I'd share. I was exploring Periscope and stumbled upon a live broadcast from new porn actress Veronica Vane, who had just finished a squirting scene and was chatting with viewers. She explained that the director was frustrated because she wasn't producing enough liquid during the scene, so she was forced to drink large amounts of Fiji water until she nearly felt ill. After a break, they resumed filming, and during Reverse Cowgirl, she released a powerful squirt that splashed everywhere, drenching everyone present. Viewers in the chat expressed disgust, as she claimed it wasn't urine, even though she had consumed a significant amount of water right beforehand. Her explanation was that the two events weren't related, which seemed questionable. Story 8. My friend's uncle, who used to run his own photography business but stopped around 8 years ago, shared a story about a woman who asked him to take explicit photos of her using sex toys for her husband's birthday gift. During the photo shoot, which lasted for about 2 hours, the woman had been inserting a dildo into her anus. As she spread her cheeks, a small piece of feces unexpectedly slid out and was captured on camera, causing her to display a look of horror. The woman finished the shoot and left, paying for the pictures a few weeks later, except for the one that captured the embarrassing moment. I never got to see those photographs. Story 9. I have a side gig in boudoir photography, and it's astonishing how quickly a tasteful shoot can turn into something tacky or even explicit. Awkwardness is also quite common in this line of work, and I have 3 memorable examples to share. A bride approached me for a photo shoot as a gift for her groom. She brought an assortment of outfits, gradually becoming more provocative, including the classic white bridal lingerie, which we saved for the end. The shoot was going smoothly, and the bride seemed relaxed, fun, and chill. She posed in various looks, such as a sexy baseball jersey representing their favorite team and a dorky elf outfit inspired by The Lord of the Rings. As we reached the end of the shoot, it was time for the super sexy wedding night look. The bride touched up her makeup and looked stunning. I sent her off to change into the outfit, which included stockings, garters, and a corset, allowing her enough time for a variety of poses. While making some lighting adjustments, I suddenly heard a scream from the dressing area. Worried, I rushed over and called out the bride's name. I found her partially dressed, sobbing and clutching her breast. Upon closer inspection, I noticed blood on her hand and breast. She was too upset to speak, so I asked her to show me what happened. When she moved her hand, I was shocked. It turned out she didn't know how to use the garter clip and mistook it for some kind of kinky nipple clamp. The clip had cut her severely, requiring stitches. We managed to reschedule the shoot a few weeks later, just in time for her wedding. However, she decided to skip the stockings and their accessories for the final shots. Another memorable experience was when a young woman treated herself to a photo shoot for her 21st birthday. She claimed it was to boost her confidence, but I found it hard to believe since she was conventionally attractive. Curious, I asked her about it, and she was very open. She explained that despite her physical attractiveness and great shape, whenever a relationship became serious, the person would suddenly disappear. I couldn't understand why, so I expressed my confusion. After she changed into different outfits, we began the shoot. Everything was going smoothly, and she was having a good time. She was stunning and a natural at posing. We enjoyed ourselves, talking throughout the process and getting to know each other. The time came for some close-up shots, and I discussed the options with her, allowing her to decide how she wanted to stage them and whether she wanted to be fully or partially nude. She chose to be fully nude and went to the dressing area to prepare. When she returned, I had her remove her robe and lie down on a chaise in the studio. I started with full-body shots and gradually moved closer. However, when I got about a foot away from her, I was hit by an intense smell. I realized it was coming from her vagina. Now, I don't believe that all vaginas have a strong odor. I mean, have you ever been near some balls? So I suspected there might be an issue with her hygiene or health. I mustered the courage to address it directly and said, "Hey, I have to be honest with you. There's a noticeable smell down here." Surprisingly, she didn't seem surprised and looked at me as if I had 3 heads. She responded, "Of course there is. I keep my flower wild." We had a detailed conversation about it, and I learned that she not only didn't groom her pubic area, but also didn't wash it. Her mother had warned her against using feminine cleaning products, and she took that to mean avoiding all cleaning products. I gave her a demonstration, fully clothed, of how I wash myself, handed her a bar of soap, and let her use the shower in my attached apartment to address the situation immediately. She came back with a smile on her face and a song in her heart, and we finished the shoot without incident. It could have gone differently, but she still tells me to this day that I changed her life. I saved this story for last because it was the most awkward for me. I don't often shoot couples for various reasons. However, a close friend of mine asked very nicely, and I had always had a little crush on her, so I agreed. I was confused, though, because I had never met her partner and was surprised to hear that she was dating someone seriously enough to do an erotic photo shoot. She admitted it was a new relationship, but she was so into him that she wanted to go for it. We set the date, discussed logistics, and everything seemed fine. The day of the shoot arrived, and I was nervous. I'm not a fan of couples shoots, y'all. They arrived, and we did introductions. Something about the boyfriend seemed familiar but also off, yet I went along with it. They changed clothes, and we started with some cheesy, look-into-her-eyes shots to ease into the nudity. We found a rhythm, and things were actually going well, so we took a break to prepare for the next set of shots. This is where it became incredibly awkward. The boyfriend came out first and just stared at me. He started talking and attempted to pull the whole, "You're too pretty to be behind the camera" routine, to which I responded, "Dude, chill." Then he looked at me with an oddly intense expression and asked, "Do you remember me?" To which my only answer, dear reader, was a resounding, "Hell no." My friend, his girlfriend, returned, and I couldn't wait to get started so we could finish. As soon as they removed their robes, things got really uncomfortable. I noticed that the boyfriend had a small tattoo on his left hip depicting some hipster arrow adventure situation. It looked familiar, but then I looked over at his right hip and saw a tattoo of similar size with my fucking, and rather uncommon, name. That's when I remembered the guy. I had gone on 3 dates with him over the course of 2 weeks and then ended things because of some serious red flags. My friend noticed my expression and said, "Oh yeah, the tattoo. That's his one that got away from a while back. Weird that you have the same name, though." I looked at her, knowing I couldn't lie, and flat out said, I think that is my name." Her boyfriend started crying and coming toward both of us, naked and with a very confusing erection, calling out not for his current girlfriend of nearly 6 months, but for me. I promptly noped the fuck out of there and let them talk. It became awfully quiet, so I went back to check on things, only to find my friend nowhere to be found. Her boyfriend, ex-boyfriend, was quietly sobbing and masturbating in the middle of the studio floor. I left him there and sent my guy friend to get him out while I checked on the girlfriend. She broke up with him on the spot and left because she couldn't face me. However, she made sure he still paid me and promised to never ask me to do a couples shoot again. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel not to miss new cool videos. See you soon.